some form of nitrogen industry was drawn
Honey, hay yet?
in the fall.
Hey, no, thank goodness. How about you?
Got some yesterday.
Oh, did you? How much? Outside?
September, October is when it all started.
I know.
You can
And we tested our method. You know, we always test our method. We tested the nitrate just to see.
I know.
Our ammonia was always really
Outside
low,
this
0.1,
morning, I said,
0.2,
no way.
nothing, you
When I
know.
saw the rain.
Tested the nitrate, it was low. It was like 0.06. It was like, there's nothing. And we don't do complete treatment, you know what I mean? So,
That's why I mentioned.
throw in urea and then nitrates, come back, ammonia stayed out. We had a little period where ammonia went up a little bit, but I think we were just growing some nitrifying bacteria in our biomass is all it was. Did that. Now since probably the last month and a half, 6 weeks, we haven't had to add any urea. And the nitrate has stayed well above 10 parts. Where before we had to continuously add to kind of keep up with it, to keep it in the system. I don't know, the only thing I can think, and it might be kind of far-fetched, and I get that, but garden centers, Home Depot, Meyer, and Walmart, when they water those plants, just the nitrogen that's in the potting soil, I wouldn't think it would either. But it's the only, because when that plant started up in the summer, we fired that. It took off. There was no problems. It was beautiful. That plant was awesome. But then fall happened and we got them guys that didn't fit. Like they just lined right up and we could get something. We went through all the low DOs, long detention times, all the telltale things that you would have. That problem. Nothing pointed to it. And then finally we came to, maybe we're nitrogen deficient because that was one thing that the type of filaments we have. Right. And sure enough, you check the nitrates in the effluent and it was, they weren't there. We started to add urea and it made it so we could at least control it. Kept them down, kept them at bay. So now if I got rid of them,
You got 5, so can I call my insurance company and tell them Haring Township is a 5 now lower my
I think we need to
premium?
get out there.
Some insurance companies use their own ratings.
This is awesome.
Our user survey kind of scratched the surface.
Like 7 months or 9 months.
There's a little bit more out there, I think, that needs to
So
be investigated.
Dwayne's got a sure bill he wanted to give, but he didn't want to burst the bubble. He didn't want me to give it. That's something Bob received there. He kind of wanted to give that himself. He's not going to be here tonight.
Wonderful, yourself?
That's official, right?
Well, he's got it.
To call a meeting, the order at 6 p.m. You join us for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call, please.
Scarborough here. Stoll here. Kane absent. Baldwin.
Here.
Baggerman.
Here.
Weststone.
Here.
Wilkerson. Here.
Treasurer Kane is absent this evening. At this time, I have public comment. Anyone who would like to address the board about anything that's not on the agenda may do so at this time.
Sir, am I on the agenda or am I?
You are on the
I
agenda.
thought so, there's a check. Thank you.
Anyone else? If not, we have approval of or any amendments to the agenda. Any additions or deletions?
I'll make a motion to approve if there's no.
We have a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Seconded by Baldwin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda is approved as submitted. Under new business, first item on our agenda this evening is Jason Elmore.
Folks, thank you for the time, and I'll be as quick but as efficient as I can. I know most of you know who I am. In fact, I think hopefully all of you guys do. I am one of two people running for Wexford County Prosecutor. As you might all recall, I ran 4 years ago, but I lost by exactly 5 votes. And I'm back for a couple reasons. Number one, I'm back because it's the job that I've always wanted. It's the reason why I became an attorney. You might wonder, well, then why I've been practicing locally. It's because the job only comes up every 4 years. When I first arrived back here, Judge Fagerman was our prosecutor, and I think he's a very good prosecutor and makes a very good job. So I ran the first opportunity I had, which was last time in 2012. Since you all last saw me, I've been deployed overseas for a year, and I'm now Lieutenant Colonel in the Army Reserves. But I moved that aside. The second reason I'm running is because I think that I can do a better job as your prosecutor. You're a prosecutor in that for all of Wexford County. Let me tell you what has changed in the last 3 years. This time I have the statistics to demonstrate that what's going on is largely just trying to keep the flow of the cases going through the pipes versus what I think needs to be done, and that is a prioritization, picking which cases are important. Plea bargains are appropriately used for first-time offenders and non-violent offenders, but for more serious crimes, they need to be used and taken to trial. When you look at the trial statistics, which I think is the most important statistic, while you don't see it in my brochure, but you'll see it on my webpage and my Facebook account, you'll see that we've had an 85% reduction in trial caseload. Our current prosecutor's office has 3 assistant prosecutors, which is the most we've ever had, and they do about 5 to 6 trials a year. Now, when I use my statistics, I keep them to adult crimes. If you actually add on some of the juvenile matters, they might add on 1 or 2. I'll give them 2 or 3. I'll give them up to 10 trials if they want to argue with my stats, although mine all come from the court. You'll find that that's an 80% reduction from when Judge Fagerman was our prosecutor. He'd averaged about 44 trials, yet our total number of cases is about the same. That tells me that not only plea bargaining the cases that deserve to be plea bargained, but they're plea bargaining pretty much everything and anything else. Next thing, I intend to quit my private practice if I'm elected. I think that's important for 2 main reasons. Number one, the elected prosecutor should focus his time on his jobs that he's hired to do by the people. Number 2, because of conflicts of interest. Let's say, and I've already had 3 or 4 people on the trail that I've talked to who have complained about somebody, and their neighbor has said nothing's going to happen to me because guess who wrote my will or did my divorce last year. And I'm not going to say that the prosecutor would intentionally not take the case, but there's that perception of conflict of interest, and you need to have integrity, or perceived integrity in your elected officials. That's why I would leave my one of the other reasons why I would leave my private practice. I'll end right there by telling you, if you all have any questions, I have information on my webpage, and if you have any questions about my statistics or anything I say, I can back up everything and I'll point you to it. Sometimes there are different ways to read the statistics. For instance, I know my opponent is passing out a piece of paper that explains some of his. I've only included cases that are charged in a particular year. He might sometimes carry the cases over, say if the case was charged on December 20th and it wasn't actually resolved until January. I didn't count that one because it came from the previous year, so I try to break mine up for years that were charged. And also, people talk about one statistic, and that is the high level of felonies charged last year. But if you actually look on this piece of paper, you'll also see that the number that they actually resolved those felonies is the exact same average. It's about 250 cases a year. So he may have charged 480, but he plea bargained and dismissed so many that stack, when they actually made a Judge Fagerman's court, is exactly the same at 257, which means it's overcharging, not really charging felonies. Again, this is a job that I want. This is not a job that I need, this is a job that I want, and it means a great deal to me. Thank you for your time and your attention.
Yeah, Jason?
Yes.
I would like to ask a question, 2
Yes,
things.
ma'am.
If elected, what about your reserves? Are you?
And that's a very good question. I am a lieutenant colonel, and I am in a tenured, non-deployable status, which means I can't be deployed. By the way, when they do deploy, they normally take the younger guys. And in my status, I do, the tenured position is with the Defense Appellate Division. It's a long way of saying I don't go anywhere, right? You don't see me going away for 1 week in a month. I wear my uniform for 2 weeks. I have a 2-week-a-year duty, which I do talk about on my webpage and my brochure and I always say, I do intend to finish my reserve commitment, but it's just a 2-week-a-year duty, and the rest of the time, I don't go anywhere.
Right,
So-
that's what I want to know.
Yep.
Then my second question, are you saying our existing prosecutor is privately practicing now?
Yes, and thank you for asking the question. I didn't want to take up too much of your time. He is, and let me explain something. We have 83 elected prosecutors in the state. Of the 83, there are 42 that are permitted to maintain a private practice. Of the 42, only 7 do. Now, and I went around and I did talk, although he accused me once of not telling the truth, I did talk to the prosecutors and say, listen, you guys are the ones around us, like Bob Cooney and Grant Travers, Melissa Ransom over in Misaki. Do any of you maintain a private practice? Their answer was no. And each one of them might say, well, I might write a will for a family member or do a power of attorney, but no, I don't practice. Thank you. Well, what we actually have is he maintains a storefront office, which is over by Kell Graphics on River Street. And that's a new practice. He moved into that building. In last year, since he's been in office, he's maintained his private office in the old building that was being torn down, the one next to the AMVETS. And last year, the city said, you all have to move out of that building. We're going to tear it down next year. Now, what happened was in September of 2015, Mr. Benedict wrote a letter, and I have a copy of it, and it told the county commission, ladies and gentlemen, crime is up. I'm going to tell you it's not up. We average around the same number of arrests and same number of charges for the last 10 years. It's right around 1,900, give or take 25 every year. Next, he said, there's legislation afoot that's going to make us hire a new public defender. No, that's not true. There is what's called the Michigan Indigent Defense Commission, where the governor is looking at why we rank 44 out of 50 states. And one of the ideas might be we might have to hire more public defenders because our public defenders are part-time. And they do part private practice and part public practice. But there has been no issue at all, a mandate coming down from Lansing that they have to hire. In fact, Lansing has a several $1 million fund to help cover that if anything else is required. What happened was Mr. Benedict left that building, but there was another attorney that was also renting there. But the other attorney was a public defender. The two people could not rent space together by themselves. And I don't know if this is exactly how they worked it, but I will tell you, September, I need more money. If you need more money, then I don't understand how you can maintain your private practice. If there's such a demand in your office, then you can't go out here and maintain your private office. Your job should be in the prosecutor's position. Yep.
My last question. I mean, I just naively assumed that the elected position would be a 40-hour-a-week expectation. Is that not a reasonable expectation?
I believe it is. Now, I'll leave him to defend that position, but what I'll say is, again, if you tell the county crime is up and there is a need, then the first resource to fill that need is your time. Next, when he got that money to hire, who do you think he hired? The public defender that he couldn't share office space with. Now guess who he shares his private office space with, and they share it together. And also backs up that pay with the other new assistant that he got. If there is that need, then the need comes from me, the individual. Which, by the way, my 2 weeks a year, I don't have to do my full 2 weeks. I'm close to my 20-year retirement, and so I'm in what's almost called, it's called like a stop, I don't call it stop loss, but they call it a safety zone, and that's why I'm in a 10-year position. But basically, it's to get Elmore to the end. So they do it with Lieutenant Colonels in the Jaguar. So, anyways.
Thank you.
Any other questions, ladies and gentlemen? If you do have any, please feel free to let me know. And I'm going to leave, but I don't mean any disrespect, but I'm heading out to Sligo now. So, and I need to stop and feed my kids on the way. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is an application for wellhead protection grant. I just got most of this information, but I've given it to you. It's from Gotham Zubat. Okay, and we'll go through this. And if you recall, a few years back, Don Conway from Gotham Zubat, we did a wellhead protection program with him. You recall that? Okay, this came across a grant opportunity of matching funds through the state. I talked to Sierra about it, and we in turn got a hold of Don Conway, who has been working on putting this together. He put a price together to initiate this and apply for the grant. And what you have in here is a proposal from Gotham Zubat and a contract from them. You also have an example resolution You also had a wellhead protection team participation agreement, which we would like the entire board to be a part of that. So that would need to be filled out. There is a sense of urgency with this because the grant needs to be submitted by Wednesday, I
It
believe.
needs to be postmarked Wednesday.
By Wednesday. So I would like to take the time, go through this. Yeah.
Yeah.
After
Just
tomorrow.
check. Well,
So I'd like to take the time, go through this. Anybody has any questions, let's get it addressed and get this on its way. Bottom line is, the work that we're proposing to do would cost around $8,000. Half of that would be reimbursed.
So the grant itself is $4 grand, really?
it's a match.
Four,
Yeah.
4 plus 4.
Yep.
And some of the things, it's defined in here, well, I'll go to the resolution. The resolution states, a resolution of the Haring Township to update its wellhead protection program consistent with the guidelines set forth by the state of Michigan as approved by the United States Environmental Protection Agency. Whereas the township recognizes its groundwater supply as a natural resource, and whereas it is within the responsibility of the township as a public water supplier to consider the health, safety, and welfare of its customers, and whereas groundwater contamination can and does occur as a consequence of a variety of land uses and activities, and whereas it's desirable to preserve and protect the quality and quantity of our groundwater resources to assure a continued safe, adequate, and usable supply now and in the future. And whereas the protection of current and potential future sources of groundwater is worthwhile from the standpoint of resource protection. Now therefore be it resolved that Haring Township Board calls for the creation of a wellhead protection team that is directed to update the township's wellhead protection program within 1 year of the approval of this resolution. The board directs the township staff and departments to actively participate in this effort. Be it also resolved this resolution be in effect for a period of 1 year from the date below and will be reviewed at that time. That's the resolution. In the letter that goes with the grant from the township, it states that the township board has adopted a resolution reaffirming our commitment to update the wellhead protection program. A wellhead protection team has been formed. We have committed to update the program within 1 year, referred to the resolution. We intend to incorporate the recommendations of the wellhead protection program into our future planning efforts. The township will use the WHPP as an active part of its public information and education efforts in protecting groundwater resources. This may be accomplished by public meetings, newspaper articles, educational information for schools, and other appropriate measures. We envision that the public information and education program will be implemented over the next 3 years, and it may become an ongoing process in our community.
I'd like to ask my questions.
Sure.
Okay, so 3 pieces to this. One, containment source inventory, we're updating that, makes sense. Did we not do that based on wells, right? Isn't that it? We get the sampling data based on existing wells. How does that happen?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, all over the whole township or just focused on the public water system?
Okay.
It's generally focused on the delineation area. In other words, there was a study done in initials that show where the water from your wells come from.
That
Yeah.
focused in?
Yes.
Okay, so not the whole township. I kind of got excited thinking about this, Bob, thinking about the dump and sections 1, 2, and 3. It'd be nice to know about that. So, okay, so then,
And it would also, you're also looking at the potential for locations for future wells.
for the public water system.
Exactly.
Yes.
Which those are the 2 big items. This is essentially something that you should do every 3 to 5 years. It's been since 2009.
I don't remember us doing that the last time, did we? the new well location idea? I don't
I
remember
believe
that.
I've even seen your
I believe
model.
it was, yes. I believe there was some component of that, I mean.
Because that data was useful a couple years ago with this gas station issue.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, there was a delineation that shows where, I think it's at least 10 years out, and so that where the water would come from. And so that area is what is deemed your wellhead protection area.
All right.
Water's always been a hot topic, but it's more so recently. And what this also includes, by signing and agreeing to participate in this, well, I'd like all the board members to participate in this. It would be done, it's quarterly, so every quarter during this period, during our regular board meetings, there would be an agenda item where we would have an update and address this as to where we are over it.
Okay, so my look that I just gave you was 2017. I'm kind of not going to be sitting here.
You're here today, so whoever your predecessor, whoever
Okay,
may
thank
be taking
All
that
right.
seat would be obligated to fulfill that obligation. Okay,
I got it.
any other questions?
No, I'm good now.
Good job.
Any questions?
Essentially, the resolution, the team that you're building here, right, these things all get you points.
Okay, now before you leave, fill this out, sign it, and get it to me, okay? Because we're gonna turn them in, Clayton's gonna take these back with him.
Do we have a resolution number on this?
Yes, we do.
What is it?
2016-03.
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution 2016-03.
Support.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
It is a very good thing to do. I'm very impressed.
And that would be like one of our first meetings, bring that up to expand the area, address that issue.
Yeah, could be.
That would be a very good idea.
Well,
It is.
if it's an option, I'd like to.
Okay.
Who am I representing? The township.
Yes. Okay, the next item on the agenda is to go into closed session to discuss a legal opinion. I make a motion to go into closed session.
Second.
Seconded by Carden. Have a roll call vote, please.
Barbara.
You don't have to have original signatures.
Agnes.
Yes.
Wilkinson. Yes. Weststone.
Yes.
Baldwin.
Yes.
Original signature.
Stoll, yes.
We recess our regular meeting at 6:20.
Yeah, that's pretty pathetic. I wanted to be a rock star, so I tried to make it as quick as possible.
I didn't get one.
Well, mine looks like crap.
It's not that bad, though, right?
Pretty close to that, but yeah.
Oh, there you go. So I'm lazy at 35. I mean, that's all.
When you look at the first one, then you look at the last page, and you go, this guy didn't sign that one. Yes. Yes.
Just sent it out today. I'll share it. My, no,
next item will be our reports, the treasurer's report. Beth's not here this evening, but she did provide her report. Clerk's report.
We've got some election training at the county, July 5th. And we started our work on our August 2nd election for the absentee ballot, getting them ready to be sent out. We're waiting for our ballots to show up, which is due the 18th of this month. And on June 24th, we'll have the public accuracy test for the August election. The liquor inspection report, everything is fine in the township.
Zoning administrator's report. Mike is here. Anyone have any questions for Mike? If not, I do have something to do with our zoning. This was given to me this morning to Supervisor Scarborough and all of the Haring Township board members. Thank you all for the vote of confidence for my appointment on the Planning Commission and the Zoning Board of Appeals. However, I regret to inform you I am resigning effective June 10th, 2016. I have an abundance of personal reasons that will not allow me to spend an adequate amount of time to perform these duties. These positions require to my satisfaction. Thank you again, Gregory Graybeck. So, anyone who knows someone who would be interested, or people who are interested in being on our planning commission, please have them contact me. Okay, fire chief's report.
Dwayne will not be here tonight. They had a total of 10 runs, 3 PIAs, PDAs, one on 41 Half Road, one on East 34 Road, and 34 and Sarah, and then one on Mitchell Street. We had 4 mutual aids, North Light, Selman, Cedar Creek. And on Cecil Road, they had a CO alarm, and they've had 2 illegal burns, Campbell Ridge and Cecil Drive. That's all he had to report.
Okay, and we did have a
Infrastructure.
Sierra infrastructure improvement, infrastructure alternatives. Your report?
Pretty short and sweet this month. Not very many call-outs at all. Things have been, I'm not going to say that out loud, never mind. Everything's been good. Any questions? We did your first of 3 scheduled major water flushings early last month, or kind of mid-month. We spent a total of 3 days just really aggressively flushing the system through fire hydrants. Kind of it, you know. Okay. We'll do another one in like August, I believe, and the 3rd and final one for the year in November. And we're, gonna let some fire hydrants go here and there, and kind of just a little touch of what we were doing last year, but maybe not as aggressively.
Anyone have any questions? Okay, thank you. All right, approval of the regular board meeting minutes.
Commissioners here.
Oh, Commissioner Fiscal.
You're down, Senator.
You have anything?
The bids for the jail will be due on the 17th of this week. So they'll be opened up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm trying to go, I'm very interested to see what the numbers are going to be on that. Personally, I think it might come in higher than what was originally planned, but we won't know until Friday. We have, you probably know that the Octagon building, we have a committee, we've been working on that. We had a meeting last Tuesday, correct? Tuesday. We had a meeting on Tuesday, and we met with a fellow from Michigan County Association of Counties, Matt Group, and he is going to assist us in the writing of grants. We don't know if there's anything out there at this time, but we're going to pursue it and see if we can get some assistance. Tomorrow, we have a meeting with the Home Builders Association at 5 o'clock. And our group, the committee, is going to meet with them. We're trying to seek their assistance in helping us with the temporary restructuring of the building to get these beams in place so we'll be able to open that building possibly for this upcoming fair, and then look at the long-term rehabilitation of that building. So we don't know what we're going to get out of this group, but we're hoping to get their assistance. All of the villages will be on the ballot. There's going to be 3 plus the surcharge for the 911. That's a questionable one because a lot of the first responders are not quite enthused with it. We'd like to keep them local. There are some commissioners that want to phase it, move it to another area. And I believe it should stay here locally, keep those positions, and they can assist us in getting this particular surcharge approved. Because without their assistance, I don't think it would pass the voters. So it's going to be a touchy one, but we're working to get an option where it will stay local. But at this point, I don't know. We're going into closed session tomorrow Wednesday at our regular meeting. And I'm just assuming it may be on what was known as the whistleblower case. That was the case involving the animal shelter, where an individual was let go. So that's been now remanded back from Manistee Court into the 28th District Court here in Cadillac. So I believe that's probably what we're going to be discussing. I don't know for sure, but it's going to be interesting what they're going to go and how they're going to pursue that. I don't have anything else unless somebody has any questions. Anything that you can answer? Nothing?
Any questions for Gary?
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Next item is approval of our regular board meetings, May 9th, 2016.
I make a motion to approve the May 9th, 2016 minutes. I'll second.
Seconded by Baldwin. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the check register. General fund number 27,494 through 27,545 and direct deposits from 179 through 183. EFTs 107 and 108 in the amount of $82,622. And O&M fund 2310 through 2326 in the amount of $37,145.85.
Make a motion, if there's no questions.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second?
I'll support.
Supported by Weststone. Roll call vote, please.
So, yes, Whetstone,
Yes.
Baggerman,
Yes.
Baldwin,
Yes.
Scarborough,
Yes.
Wilkerson.
Yes. Motion carried. Okay, communication education, trustee Baldwin, I believe, provided everybody with the 2013 to 2018 capital improvement plan that the planning commission put together. It's a very good job.
I don't think we get it.
We didn't get it.
No, that was sent to every department head with a cover letter to give
I'll get a copy of this to you, but it's a very good job.
no, Mike Green did that, to give their
Get their input.
vision for the next 5 years.
Okay.
Because we need to put together for the next 5 years.
Okay, and all the trustees should have a copy. I'll see to it that y'all get a copy of it. Very good. Any other communication, education? have anything? If not, we have public comment. Anybody would like to address the board, may do so at this time again. If there's no public comment, do we have any board comments? We got a minute to spare. Okay, if there's no board comment, I have a motion to adjourn.
See them jumping.
Support.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 7.
Yeah, they're both, it's both of them, like experts.